Well, what do we have here then? If it isn't another patch for Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. Patch 1.3 is out right now, you can download it for yourself, so what better time to jump back into it and see if it's had any improvements and fixes. And if it hasn't, well, at the end of this video I thought we'd have a bit of fun. Some of you know the M Classic, which is a device that essentially upscales your image to try and improve the image quality using a hardware decoder. But, well, I lost my M Classic, and then this company sent me this little thing here. Does exactly the same thing apparently, so we'll give that a go at the end of the video. Okay, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, patch 1.3. Has it been all patched up? Let's find out. Okay, before we look at the frame rates then, let's just go over the patch and what it actually does. I'll tell you what the last one did. It caused a big memory issue that actually caused some people to lose their save games, and literally linking the game to your Pokemon Go caused the whole thing to just explode. Well, supposedly that's now fixed, so happy days. So if you were one of the trainers who caught an egg instead of Walking Wake or Iron Leaves in a Tera Raid Battle before updating to version 1.2.0, you were basically screwed over and couldn't catch those. Well, that's now been fixed, and you can go ahead and catch either of those two Pokemon. They're also bringing back the Tera Raid battles for those two, which should be now, because they said it will be when this patch drops. You can now join friendly competitions up until the point when it ends, rather than having to join before it actually began. They fixed some bugs in link battles, but it's long-winded and boring, so I'll pop that in the description. You can check out the full patch notes there actually. What we're looking at is a ton of bug fixes related to game features. However, it does appear that lots and lots of bugs still remain. In fact, one of the top comments on Reddit from a guy called StromZ, he says, aside from the game obviously needed a major performance patch, there are other obvious flaws like scrolling with the L and R buttons still not working, and that when you play ranked battles during the 60-second match preview and you go to check your own Pokemon, the up and buttons don't actually work, so that each time you have to go back and click again. Quite an obvious omission. But look, I've got to be honest, I don't give two hoots about missing eggs or wonky glitchy menus, or the fact they still haven't implemented a sensitivity option for the camera. Actually, that really winds me up. What I really care about is the performance. So let's look at that. Okay, I think the best thing to do is to jump into a few different areas to have a look at how the performance was before. Now this area here, we can see we had some real drops and it becomes very stuttery. And when we jump over to patch 1.3, yeah. Let's go through a few different areas and see if there's any change at all. It looks to me that the frame rate is exactly the same as it was before, and I know lots of us were expecting it at this stage. And yes, for those people that have started to type, but they didn't say they would fix performance. Well, actually they did mention performance quite a while back on Twitter, saying they were aware of the performance problems and that they would be working on fixing everything up. But yeah, they didn't directly say we will improve frame rates so that they're acceptable. So yeah, they haven't. It's strange as well because there's such noticeable drops in performance, and there are times where the frame pacing is actually fine, and for a moment there when I first booted up I thought, yeah, this is it, this is the one. It was 30 locked out, and then out of nowhere suddenly that frame rate just dropped down and went back up again, and that seems to be the case across the board. Now a few suggestions say that it's the engine, but I think it's far more likely it's just an optimization issue. They're just not optimizing it, and then they're not going to optimize it, are they? Invariably there'll be people in the comments saying how much they enjoy the games, and they're very good Pokemon games, but there are lots of us, and this particularly is the case for me, that I can't really play these. It makes me feel literally sick if I'm playing this on a large screen. Those constant frame drops and stutters really do make me feel quite nauseous. They're still popping, it still has a generally washed out look on the textures. I potentially didn't see as many glitchy moments like before. I could see the scenery flickering in and out. I don't think I saw that quite as much as I did before, but these are the types of things that could happen on one run and then not on the next. There's a very interesting discussion going on Reddit at the moment. There seems to be be two camps of people now. There are those who are understandably very, very disappointed in the performance, and then there's a group who essentially say that all gens of Pokemon have had performance and bug issues, but I would argue that I don't think it's been as bad as this. But will you still find shiny spawning in rocks and walls? Yeah, you will. If you're lucky, you might be able to glitch through yourself and find it. Now, I do want to share with you an interesting Tumblr post. It's essentially worked out what they could do to massively improve the performance on the Nintendo Switch, and it wouldn't even be that difficult. And while this is a massive oversimplification, the Paldea region is essentially a tiny little speck in the middle of a fully rendered ocean. Now, the game won't render what's behind you in terms of Paldea, so if you're looking in one direction, everything behind the player is cold because it's not needed. But the ocean that the Paldea region sits in, with all its waves and renders, is fully rendered and it's gigantic. Compares it to the sun in relation to the earth as to how much larger that ocean render is than the area that you actually play in, and basically said it makes absolutely no sense. It's just ridiculous. Now look, this might not be a huge performance boost, but it's one of a lot of things that could be done to improve performance across the board. But you'll have to help me out here. Do we think maybe they just don't know how to? Like, maybe they're just not that good tweaking and manipulating that engine to get it to do what they want? Or is it option B, they don't need to? So let's finish with a little bit of fun then. Let's see if we can at least improve the visual quality by using one of these little upscaling dongles. They usually sharpen everything to death, but well, we never know. Let's have a look. So this is what it looked like before, and then we run it through there. What do you think? Is there an improvement? Let's jump over to another area. I think potentially there's a slight improvement. Either way, it doesn't matter because it still looks it still doesn't look the best. There is a guy on YouTube, I can't link to him because Nintendo will have a hissy fit, but he essentially ran the game not on a Switch, and yeah, it runs beautifully. Remember, before you get offended that I've pointed out that the game isn't perfect in terms of performance, we did enjoy it. We reviewed it on the channel, and the core gameplay itself we thought was okay. It's just, yeah, it's just not a good look, is it? Let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you think it would get patched up? It hasn't, but there are a ton of bug fixes related to gameplay, so if you're one of those people who, in air quotes, hasn't experienced any of these issues, then fantastic, your game is now less buggy. It's more stable, a bit like the Switch after one of those system updates. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the content. I hope it's been useful, and as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!